statements to be issued. First one is the first statement is a statement raised by Honorable Abdullah Isiat to the Department of Trade, Industrialization and Cooperative Development. Honorable Abdullah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to seek a statement from the Chairperson of Trade, Industrialization and Cooperative Development Committee as follows. One, is the department aware that the Lafey town does not have a proper market with decent facilities, and that the residents are using an old structure that was in existence before the advent of devolution? B, when the department is going to construct a modern market that befits the status of a county headquarters and that is going to help residents do business in a dignified environment. Thank you.
Chair for Finance Committee, Trade Committee. Vice Chair for that committee. Any member? Honorable Halima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request us to be given for 3 weeks. 3 weeks time, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker.
Why do you take 3 weeks? Why don't you make it less than 3 weeks?
Mr. Speaker, we cannot bring before that because next week we will be writing to the department and for them to respond again and the committee to go through because of this COVID-19. The committee always have one sitting in a week, Mr. Speaker. So kindly I request for 3 weeks.
Honorable Abdullah.
Mr. Speaker, I think this is the time for budget making. And I will want this to be considered because the budget is with the executive right now. So can they limit that to 2 weeks maximum, please? Thank you.
Honorable, okay. I think Honorable Halima, there is a ruling that we made here. It is true that the committees have only one sitting per week, but we said when the committee has more business before the committee, they can request more than one time. I therefore direct the committee to respond back this statement within 2 weeks. We go to next statement. Statement raised by Honorable Kulo Ali Uguyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. My name is Honorable Kula Aliou, the Honorable Member elected from Ramu, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to direct my statement to the Chair for Finance and Economic Planning. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this concerning my statement. Aware that the internally displaced person of Ramu Ward has not been specifically addressed in terms of the provision of relief food distribution. Further aware that this House passed a motion on 15th May 2019 to compel the County Department of Finance and Economic Planning to implement social protection program by converting all the routine food programs in the county to monthly cash transfer to benefit the vulnerable households in the county. Mr. Speaker, allow me to give some short background on my statement. Why I ask this statement, Mr. Speaker? Ramu Ward is a ward that houses over 3,000 IDPs who are displaced from our neighboring county, Wajir, Madam Mr. Speaker. And for a couple of years now, Mr. Speaker, after these people landed in Ramu Ward, the county government of Mandera did its best to settle the said IDPs, Mr. Speaker. some of the items, some of the things that they did actually for these people is that the residents of Ramo actually donated their land, their piece of land to these IDPs. They gave them household utensils. Mr. Speaker, the county government helped them to settle by providing them with water, schools, and above all, Mr. Speaker, the county government for the last 4 to 5 years has been giving these families who are vulnerable, mostly who are elderly, Mr. Speaker, they have been giving them a monthly ration, Mr. Speaker, for the last 4 to 5 years, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know no government, not even the county government, can maintain its population for the whole of its life. But I specifically thank the county government for the last 4 to 5 years for what they have done. But last year, Mr. Speaker, the same food ration was actually removed from the budget, citing that the residents were not thankful to what the government was actually giving them, which is false, Mr. Speaker. My people who are the IDPs are always thankful to what the county government have been doing for them. And that has been their livelihood. They have been getting food ration on a monthly basis, Mr. Speaker. Remember, these are the people who have been chased from where they have been living, and they have no source of livelihood whatsoever, Mr. Speaker. And that gesture that was given to them by the county government, they do appreciate, Mr. Speaker. But when they removed this from the budget, the life of these people have never been the same again, Mr. Speaker. Vulnerable members of the society, who are the IDPs, are currently facing starvation, Mr. Speaker. They have no land to farm, they have no animals to keep, they have nothing to feed for the last 1.5 years, Mr. Speaker, that the county government withdrew its support, Mr. Speaker. It is against this background, Mr. Speaker, that I want to state on the floor of this House that these IDPs are suffering, they have nothing to feed on, they have no animals that they rear, they have no farms for them to farm, and that every time, Mr. Speaker, these people have been calling me to actually petition the government to make sure that whatever they have been providing, they do provide. Mr. Speaker, I know it is not right for them. I mean, it's not going to be logic to feed these people for many years. But they can gradually wean off these people so that at least they come to adapt to the new lifestyle of where there is no support. And the government did not do that. They abruptly stopped the support, Mr. Speaker. And that had a devastating effect on the residents of Ramo Ward, Madam Speaker, in particularly those who are in IDPs. So, pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to seek a statement from the Chairperson of Finance and Economic Planning Committee on why the department has not distributed the routine monthly relief food for Ramo internally displaced persons for the last 1 year. I also ask why, if there is going to be any budgetary allocation for the routine monthly food distribution for internally displaced households in Ramo Ward financial year 2020-2021. Whether the department has implemented the monthly cash transfer program for the vulnerable households in line with the above motions that was passed on 15th May 2019. Thank you.
Okay, what is your information, Honorable Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir. Mr. Speaker, as was said by the Honorable Member for Ramo, the relief food allocation was removed from the budget immediately. Immediately, a motion was passed in this House directing the county government to generate a bill that will enable the control of budget to allow the county to deduct this amount through the cash transfer, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this failed to happen and we waited for 1 year plus. And as we speak right now, Mr. Speaker, before the office of the clerk, there is a bill that I generated on the same that will allow the county government to deduct this amount of money for this purpose, Mr. Speaker. I request, using this opportunity, I request your indulgence to make sure that this bill benefits this population with effect from this budget, which has not landed before, on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker.
The Chair of Finance, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Mohammed Rashid, Vice Chair of Finance. I would like to thank my brother, Honorable Kula, for the statement that he has raised. Mr. Speaker, there is 3 questions which has been raised by my brother, Honorable Kula. Mr. Speaker, the first question, why the department has not distributed the routine monthly relief food for Ramo, internally displaced person, for the last 1 year. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that in the last financial year, 2019-2020, the budget line of that distribution of relief food has been removed. That is why the executive couldn't distribute relief food to the IDPs in Ramo. Mr. Speaker, yes, Mr. Speaker, even my brother Honorable Kula, he has highlighted when he was emphasizing about the statement that he has raised. Mr. Speaker, because of we are closing on 12th August, maybe we request for 2 weeks so that we may respond to the second question. Even the third question need a bill to be at least passed in this house so that at least it can be used.
Fine, 2 weeks is very fair, I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mohammed. I think we go to the next statement. This is a statement raised by... Order, Honorable Yaqub. He said 2 weeks. Order, Honorable Yaqub, you're out of order. I think, what? What do you want to say? I think he's the vice chair, he's the spokesperson of the committee.
Mr.
Let us allow him to say what he wants to say, Honorable Bishar.
Mr. Speaker, I think Honorable Kula asked why the department has not distributed the routine monthly relief.
Honorable Bishar, what do you mean that Honorable Muhammad knows what is happening in the government?
No, because
more than you.
Mr. Speaker, why I say
what do you mean by that, please?
Some of the members were applauding him for having, very much information about the government, which is, you can hear. So, Mr. Speaker, despite that, Mr. Speaker, this information why the government has not distributed just cannot be an answer that the fund has been removed from the budget. Why the honorable member was asking is, why even so that fund was removed from the budget? That's the question. It's not that you cannot just thrash this statement and tell us that that statement has, the question number 1 has been answered. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to know.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker. Point of information to the House, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mohammed, you will be given, let him exhaust.
Let him exhaust his
before he
exhausts,
you will explain once.
Please. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a very important aspect of life concerning human life, Mr. Speaker. And food distribution is one of the basic needs for human life. So what has caused the government to remove this amount of money, which touches of food security and human life, because we are vulnerable members of our society, in every ward, not only Ramu, Mr. Speaker, what has convinced this government, what other emergency has, can be able to proceed on this one, that the whole colossal amount of budgeting for food relief was moved from the budget, Mr. Speaker? That question remains unanswered, despite him telling us it's an item that has been removed.
Okay, honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, point of information to the House. Mr.
Order, honorable members. I think that's an information to the House. I think, honorable member, the 2 weeks is very fair.
Mr. Speaker, the point of information I want to share, it is this honorable House who has removed the budget line of distribution of relief food.
Fine.
It is this honorable House, Mr.
Fine.
Speaker,
Okay.
including him.
Okay. I think, order, honorable members, we should not discuss this statement. Please let us not discuss this statement. It's a new statement. Order, honorable members. I think 2 weeks is very fair. It's very fair. If you want to make a provision of this food, I think that very soon the budget will come, and the House has that power to make a line for that issue. We go to the next statement. This is a statement raised by honorable member representing Warangara Wood. Honorable Ahmed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 442C, I wish to seek a statement from the Chairperson of Health Service Committee as follows. 1, whether the department is aware of Warangara Health Center closure due to lack of health personnel. 2, what immediate plan does the department have to operationalize the facility? 3, why Gari and Warangara Health Centers did not get any new posting of healthcare workers despite the staffing challenges? Thank you.
Honorable Chair for Health.
Thank you, Mr. We'll bring comprehensive response to the statement in 2 weeks' time.
Mr. Speaker, before you give direction, Mr. Speaker, over the weekend I happened to be in the ward, Mr. Speaker, and that is a health center, Mr. Speaker, I am referring to Mr. Warangara Health Center, Mr. Speaker. And at the moment, I don't know whether it's corona or any other fever, people are really sick, Mr. Speaker, and the health center is closed. That is in the media, both social and mainstream media, Mr. Speaker, that the crisis existing in that health center, Mr. Speaker. So that's a matter of emergency, Mr. Speaker. I humbly request the chair to respond to this matter because of his urgency within a week, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair for Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members, please.
Now that we are in pandemic and closure of this facility will going to aggravate the problem, we will take up this issue with the departments and so that the health personnel will be posted as soon as possible. But for comprehensive response in 2 weeks' time, but this matter will liaise with the department so that at least, if possible, next week or this week, health personnel should be taken there. Thank you.
I think it's very fair. The moment he said within 2 weeks, it can also be within this week can be posted staff. So 2 weeks is very fair. Within 2 weeks is very fair.